I had been driving for hours through winding back roads, making my way across the country for a freelance photography gig. Exhaustion pressed into my eyes when the antiquated sign for Hotel Lysandra flickered to life through the foggy dusk. A vintage charm seemed to seep through its brick walls, making it an ideal stop for the night and possibly a few snapshots. The lobby was adorned with rich mahogany and fading gold wallpaper. Portraits of solemn individuals in 19th century attire stared down at me. The desk clerk, an older gentleman with a pencil-thin mustache and piercing blue eyes, handed me a brass key. "Room 317, he said. "Last one on the left." The hallway felt endless, the dim lights casting long shadows that seemed to shift with each step. I hesitated in front of 317, taking in the ornate door, its wood darkened by age. The room was surprisingly lavish, with a grand four-poster bed and heavy velvet curtains drawn close. An unexpected chill made me wrap my arms around myself. Dismissing it as a draft, I decided to take a warm shower. The bathroom tiles were freezing, making me rush to turn on the water. As steam filled the air, I noticed something written in the fogged-up mirror. "Don't look behind," it read. My heart raced and every sound became amplified. I wiped the mirror clean, trying to convince myself it was a leftover prank from a previous guest. Attempting to settle, I lay in bed, leafing through a guest book on the bedside table. Scribbled notes from past travelers filled its pages, but one entry made my blood run cold. "Room 317 is always watching." Dated just 2 weeks ago, the scrawling handwriting looked frantic. An eerie silence enveloped the room, punctuated only by the ticking of an ancient wall clock. Suddenly the curtains rustled, even though the window was firmly shut. From the corner of my eye, I thought I saw a shadow darting past. My skin prickled with unease. The quiet was shattered by a soft whisper. "Stay." I bolted up, scanning the room. Nothing seemed out of place. But then I noticed one of the portraits from the hallway hanging opposite my bed. It depicted a woman in a flowing dress, her eyes dark with sadness. I could have sworn this wasn't there when I'd first entered. Suddenly the room's temperature plummeted, and the chandelier's lights dimmed and flickered, casting eerie illuminations that danced across the room. A soft lullaby began to play from somewhere distant, hauntingly familiar. The portrait's eyes seemed to follow me, a mournful plea emanating from them. Panicking, I raced out, sprinting down the corridor. The hallway stretched and twisted in ways that defied logic. Doors opened and slammed on their own. Faint cries of anguish echoed from unknown depths. Reaching the lobby, I found it transformed. The once elegant furnishings now looked decayed, the air thick with the musty scent of age. The portraits' figures had stepped out of their frames, their ghostly forms wandering aimlessly. I locked eyes with the desk clerk, who grinned wickedly, his face contorting in an unnatural way. Adrenaline pumping, I pushed through the entrance doors, gasping for the crisp night air. The Hotel Lysandra loomed menacingly behind me, its windows lit with an otherworldly glow. I drove through the night without stopping, haunted by the memories of room 317. Weeks later, after sharing my tale with a local from a neighboring town, I was met with a grave expression. "Hotel Lysandra," he mused. "It burnt down in 1893. It's been nothing but ruins for over a century." Chills cascaded down my spine. I'd slept in a phantom hotel, a relic of a bygone era, trapped in a haunting loop of its final tragic night. Having always been a fan of remote getaways, I jumped at the chance to rent a quaint stone cottage via Airbnb. nestled deep within the forests of Scotland. The listing showcased beautiful images, moss-covered stone, stained glass windows, and an interior that promised a fusion of old-world charm and modern comforts. Upon arriving, the cottage looked just as enchanting as the photos had depicted. Its isolated location gave it an aura of undisturbed tranquility. As I inserted the key into the worn-out lock, the door creaked open to reveal an unexpectedly modern interior. Clean lines, minimalist furniture, and smart home gadgets made for a stark contrast against the rustic exterior. However, the first oddity I noticed was a series of mirrors, each uniquely shaped and adorned with intricate frames. Adorning every room, from the bedroom to the kitchen, they seemed to keep a watchful eye. As the sun dipped below the horizon, a cold draft snaked its way through the cottage. I tried adjusting the heating system, but no matter how high I set the thermostat, an unexplained chill persisted. I decided to settle in for the evening, curling up with a book in the living room. That's when I began to hear the faint whispers. At first, I dismissed it as the wind playing tricks, but soon it was undeniable. Soft murmurs echoed throughout the cottage, originating from no discernible source. Following the sound led me to one of the mirrors in the hallway. The reflection was off. The hallway in the mirror was darker, the walls seemingly alive with shadowy movements. And then, to my horror, a shadowy figure darted across the reflection, even though nothing of the sort appeared in the real hallway. Terrified, I decided to reach out to the host. Their reply was swift but offered no consolation. Avoid the mirrors after dark. Do not, under any circumstances, touch them. They have a history. The night took a more sinister turn as I tried to sleep. The whispers grew louder, almost as if the walls themselves were speaking in a tongue lost to time. Every so often, a word or phrase in English would pierce through, watching, trapped, release us. Too scared to move and with no cellular signal to call for help, I lay motionless, hoping for the night to pass. However, sleep evaded me as I felt the ever-growing presence of unseen eyes upon me. By dawn, driven by both curiosity and fear, I researched the history of the cottage. It was once owned by a mirror maker in the 18th century. Legend had it that he had dabbled in the occult, attempting to trap souls within his creations. His experiments had apparently gone awry, leading to his own soul being ensnared within one of his mirrors, forever bound to the cottage. Desperate to leave, I packed hastily, but before I could make my exit, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the living room mirror. My heart stopped. The reflection showed a version of me still seated, eyes blank, surrounded by shadowy figures, whispering their tales of anguish. Rushing out, I left the door ajar in my panic. As I drove away, the cottage seemed to loom ominously in the rearview mirror, the many eyes of its haunted past watching my departure. Days later, I received a chilling message from the Airbnb host. You left the door open. They're free now. Every mirror I've looked into since carries a shadow, a whisper, a reminder of the cursed cottage deep within the Scottish woods.